processes in Maya.
They
But
finally add the thing in 3D where you can actually move the UVs more. Like you can unfold everything easily more and move them around with the vertices.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, took that long.
Other thing Maya used to have worse model UVing tools.
yeah, Maya definitely used to be worse, but after a while you just like find a bunch of third-party plugins and everything gets so much easier.
So then you go over here to just import your thing, your low poly, your decimated mesh. I don't know. Everyone has their own workflow. I know a lot of people swear by 3D Coat. For me, I just like using Maya. I don't know. It's just it's what I know. I know how to fix geometry in there. I don't know how to fix geometry in 340 or whatever. No, we are in 340. I don't know how to fix a lot of topology errors in 3D Coat, but yeah. Anyway. So then you have this. So here's your low poly mesh, your decimated mesh, and you're going to create your low poly mesh on top of it. So this is not like a crazy process, basically. What you're going to do is you're going to click on your object here, and you're going to click on this button, which is live surface, which is going to turn it into a live surface, which means now that you can start to quad draw on top of it. So now if you go over here to the modeling toolkit, there's a button here called quad draw. And it works if you've ever used 3D Coat, very similar to it. You just place points and draw polygons. If you want to save yourself a lot of time and headache, I recommend you go over here to this button in the center of your screen. This turns off history. So if you turn that off, you don't get any construction history, basically. So that means like you don't get like any append to polygon or all that stuff when you're making a Maya. It just saves a lot of time, basically, while you're doing this low poly process. You probably want to turn it on when you're done, so you can do things like bevel again and stuff like that. But when you turn it off, it just makes this process a lot faster. Also, I recommend you probably go over here and turn symmetry object X on, or whatever object, direction that you're on, so that when you place dots, it places dots on either side, basically.
Well, if your character doesn't have like something close or not symmetry.
Usually in that case, I try to model until I know where the symmetry breaks, and then I go back, and then I start to do it by hand on each side at that point.
Okay.
So yeah. So how the quad draw system works is if you place a point with your mouse button, you place 4 of them by just clicking. You can get rid of them by holding. How do you get rid of them again? Oh, Control Shift deletes the point. Sorry, that took me a sec. Middle mouse will allow you to move the points around if you would like so. When you have 4 points placed and you hold Shift, it creates a polygon. There you go.
Polygons.
Wow. And then you can grab the edges and you can actually grab the face and just move it around, basically. So basically, right, in ZBrush, we used Z-Remesher to basically create new topology. That's what we're doing here, but we're basically doing it by hand. And so for heads and stuff, and hands, and like other really organic features, this is really important because you really want full control over how, to specifically like how the topology is going to deform for animation or whatever. So for this particular demo, you want to make sure that you use, for this piece, demo on heads, so don't worry. Okay, so cool. So I want to talk about my theory behind this process a little bit too. You want to make sure that you don't do this. Okay, that takes for fucking ever, all right? Be smart, okay? Work smarter, not harder, okay? Because it's much easier to just draw a bunch of big shapes like this and then just subdivide them by holding Control, and then you can insert all the edge loops that you want after the fact. So work kind of in the same way in ZBrush. You want to work with a big amount of shapes and then turn it into a small amount of shapes. Big to small, low amount of detail to a high amount of detail. There's going to be some parts in here for sure that are probably going to require a lot of polygons, but we'll deal with them as they come. But for right now, like, what was I saying last week? Keep it simple, stupid. Did I say that in this class or my other class? I don't really remember, but
I think that's both classes.
You said it in this class.
okay, good.
Whoop.
Sometimes you get weird, freaky errors like this. I don't know what causes this. There we go. You just got to kind of move stuff around. I'm moving stuff around. I'm using a tablet because my wrist is dying. So make sure you guys are using, use middle mouse button to move stuff around.
Holes.
There we go. Cool. Yeah. So does this need thickness? It probably will. We'll deal with that in a sec. So for me, when I low poly model, I think about where the detail is going to be needed. So for example, on this guy, right? I want to kind of make sure I have that separation between this part of the, between this like rim, this filigree element and the main chest piece here. So I might make a polygon that does this, but then I might go back and add a polygon like here along the surface to make sure I have this like connection here as well. And then I'm going to like hold control again to insert a polygon. So it kind of creates that specific shape that I'm looking for, like this. There we go.
And also there will be some, what do you call it, triangles sometimes around here.
Yeah, so triangles are your friend for sure. Like in ZBrush, you want to avoid them as much as you can, I feel like, because it makes for really bad subdividing. But when you create your low poly mesh, you can use literally whatever you want. Nobody is going to call the cops on you. Like for right here, I'm like, whatever, I don't care. Usually I also try to make like, I don't know what to really call them. I don't know what they're really called in sub D modeling theory. I call them like protection edge loops, basically. So like this feature can be subdivided separately from like this features and this feature over here. I don't know what that's really called in sub D modeling, but it's just something I like to. It's just something I like to kind of do. You're not always going to be able to do that every single time because sometimes the mesh just might not have your polygon requirements just might not allow for it, but it just depends on what you're working on and what you're doing.
How would you merge the vertices between the two sides, or how to do that?
So like this?
Like, yeah, grabbing and...
Oh, so yeah, just grab them and then Maya will automatically merge them together.
Oh, okay, like 3D code. Okay, just want to make sure.
Sorry, I didn't talk about that. Yeah.
There was two ways, like for 3D code. Like, I don't know if it's like the same thing as doing 3D code again.
I mean, it's pretty similar.
Yeah, it's very similar.
Sometimes you get freaky situations like this where you kind of just gotta like draw them together.
Yeah.
And you gotta like force it over here. It's not the most perfect process, which is unfortunate because it's really time consuming and lame, but that's 3D modeling. So yeah, going over here. Okay, so gotta kind of finagle the camera angle here. Hello? Okay, fine.
Doing the skirt.
Uh-huh.
You doing that skirt for?
Well, hopefully your skirt has a very clean base mesh that you can just export.
Yeah.
And use as your low poly rather than trying to UV it. So I did the thing there where I cleared the dots.
Oh.
And just reset them. Also, you can click this button here to see all the keyboard shortcuts.
Oh, thank God.
Yeah, they added that recently. Yeah.
Now let's put that in ZBrush.
Yeah, that would be sick. And over here.
Okay, Control Shift point drag.
Going over here. Hello. So sometimes the points just like don't want to work together. Okay, Artie was so bored that he left, and now he's come back. I'm joking.
So it's like a time process for doing low poly.
So yeah, this part here can be very time consuming. That's why I really recommended in ZBrush that you create a mesh that's like, you create a base mesh that you don't have to maybe do a ton of work on when you get to the low poly process, especially if you're making stuff in Maya, right? Because like this part can be really time consuming.
Mm-hmm.
And you just want to be able to have really fast turnarounds on this stuff. So there we go over here. So I'm actually going to do this just because I know I'm going to want a specific edge flow here. Something like that. Now the point is you're not trying to get the blue to exactly cover every part of the surface on this. You're just trying to get like a rough approximation because you're going to bake all the normal map detail back, which is going to bring back like all these scratches and stuff. Like you don't have to like manually redraw. You don't have to like, manually draw in a cut here for the axe for that. That's like normal map detail that will get baked down. Can I get over here, please? Thank you. Bam.
Your substance gets everything.
Mm-hmm. So bam, kind of going over here. Anybody have any questions so far about this process?
When you're going over like edges or whatnot, I've heard some people talking about baking down normal maps to very sharp edges, giving you weird artifacting.
Uh-huh.
So when you've got things like, the edges of blades or like corners on metal or something, how do you approach that?
There's a couple ways that technically, like if I ran into that error on the job or like on my current gig and I had to fix it, you can bevel the low poly for sure. Just add the edge loops that you need. You can also split the UVs so that basically what splitting the UVs does is it tells the normal map bake to basically just not even worry about how it connects to the other side. Just bake what it sees. And it splits and you have to, it splits it in a specific way, so you get a much more accurate bake. But really what you would do also in your high poly is you make sure you have not too much of a sharp edge. Like you still want a nice clean bevel line. It's not too sharp, but that is an issue for sure. But those are the ways that I would try to fix it. So I would try to like add the edge loops that I need, split the UVs, and if that doesn't work, go back to my high poly, make that edge a little bit softer, and then redo everything again, basically.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, so now I'm just going through. So this is another example here where I'm going to do something like this. So this is a piece of geometry that I imagine isn't going to really deform because it's like a hard piece of metal. So I'm not too worried about the topology, but I do want it to look like clean still. So yeah. I'm just holding shift to create all these polygons again. You can hold shift to kind of smooth out the mesh, which kind of helps you quite a bit during this process. If you want to, you can hold tab to just extrude an edge, which is like kind of useful. And if you hold tab right click or middle mouse click, you can just drag out a whole edge of vertices like that. That's pretty useful. I learned that the first year I was teaching this class from another student. He was like, listen to me, old man, you don't know what you're doing. And I was like, no. There we go, like that. So yeah, usually on the backs of stuff, this is where I'm just like, blazing through it as fast as I possibly can. Basically, I don't really give a shit. I mean, I do give a shit, but like, I'm like,
just put everything together fast.
Yeah, I'll just go back and smooth it out later. Bam, bam, bam. Oops. Bam, 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 bam. This is where I usually put on music or like a podcast or something because this process is so boring sometimes. How many people have done? A lot of you guys have done this process before, yes or no?
Mhm.
Yep.
Okay,
Yeah.
Any an hour.
many an hour, yeah.
I've done it
Was it
before,
for
but not
rocks?
for something as complicated as the characters that we're doing in this class.
Or project.
Just make this in another class.
God, that sucked. So fun. For environment.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of environment pieces, they just decimate and then they're done. Like that's usually how they do it sometimes.
Yup.
Yeah.
Yup.
It's as quick as possible.
That's normally the best way.
Yeah, and then they just slap some substance designer tiling material that they made on top of it, and it's good to like go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's
why-
pretty accurate.
That's why we're environment artists.
Yep.
Wait, so why are you guys taking this class? It's like, do you just want to learn, or like you?
Want to
are
learn.
required.
Also, I ran out of environment artist class. So I'm, I'm in my 4th year. I needed like more game classes, and I was like, ooh, character art.
Jamin didn't want to deal with us anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna take Jamin's hand painted texture class this semester, but I didn't want to do it online because that's awful. 6-hour classes online, please no.
Yeah.
But isn't
It's
it
a 6-hour class.
Yep.
Isn't it split into 2 3-hour classes?
Yeah, with an hour break in the middle.
Seriously? Mine was on
Yeah.
2 separate days, and it's fucking 8:20 in the morning. It was hard. It was a nightmare.
No, they've been doing the like 6-hour class with an hour break in the middle for a while.
Jesus Christ! I can't imagine.
That's even
Jamin
on. That's even online that they're doing.
Yeah.
that? Wow.
I dropped that. I was like, I can't sit at my computer for 7 hours. I can't in a class.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine Jamin after 4 hours of anything. It's drinking.
No, but like, I would have totally done it in person, but I can't just in my house with people around me. Can't sit there for 6 hours.
I
What
feel
time
that.
in the day would you usually leave to get to class 8:20 in the morning?
I actually worked it out. I would have to get like the very first bus to get the very first train. So I think I'd have to wake up at like 5.
I had to take the ferry to get there, to get to San Francisco. It sucks.
Fun.
I had to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, take the boat at 5,
Yeah.
and then wait for the whole thing, wait for the door to open at 7. I did that a lot in that semester.
Yeah, that's not fun.
Fun.
Yeah, I worked out the math at one point, and I think I have to wake up at like 5 or 4:30 to get like the first bus. But the thing is, they like removed the bus line that I took for like 6 or 7 years. So I don't even know if I can do that anymore.
Miss your last chance to take Jamin's hand painting class, man.
It's
wish
not
they-
always in the morning. Like it wasn't in the morning this semester, and then COVID happened, so I got screwed.
At least if you're at home, you can wake up time this time. You can wake up earlier, a little earlier.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah,
sometimes.
I don't miss the 3-hour commute.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why I
I
like
kind of
living
do.
closer to San Francisco. That way I don't have a 3-hour commute even when we do go back in session.
See, obviously that's the ideal plan, but
Yeah. I got lucky with my living situation in that sense. So
Mhm.
I had an hour and a half commute, and that was bad by itself. 3 hours, I can nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
yeah, mine's depending on the time of day ranges between like an hour and a half at like the perfect time to almost 3 hours.
Mm.
It's a fun commute.
I was
Gotta
trying
love
to get the traffic on
time.
the bridge. It's like, boat. Take boat. Boat's good. You can sleep.
So I'm
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt. I'm using the multi-cut tool here to kind of cut into the
Oh, where's
surface.
that one?
It's right here, multi-cut. Just kind of lets you cut into the model basically, and
Are you able to hold shift hold? Oh, there, yeah. Do that long line around the whole model. Shift hold, or is it for the multi-cut tool?
yes, you are. Yeah.
Okay, so I don't.
Okay. Can I get this over here? Thank you. Okay, cool. just to get that like to kind of define the edge there. All right, I'm not trying to rush through this, but we do got to keep moving. Bam. So you might be looking at this process and you're like, wow, this seems really fun. That's good, but also it's not. It's like really boring. So like, please anticipate that. It's going to be very mindless. And I am going to expect you to have good topology later when I like, do my lecture on faces and stuff. So please anticipate that. Be prepared to do research and like look up, specific other people's work or whatever for reference too.
Oh yeah, for delete faces, you just select the mesh or select the
hold Control Shift and it deletes the face.
Control Shift.
Yeah. Or if you hold Control Shift and click, it'll delete the face basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things I love about Maya is that if you just press any combination of buttons with Control or Shift or Alt and just find out new functions.
Oh yeah.
Just want to hit all my menus and I can't get them back.
Yeah.
Thanks, Maya.
Just gotta reinstall real quick. I swear I must have reinstalled Maya more than like any other application in the history of using computers.
Maya does not uninstall cleanly. It always leaves crap behind that interferes with your next install. I found that out the hard way.
I don't think I've ever had to uninstall it. Why are you uninstalling a program?
Because alternative is that I throw my monitor out the window.
Yo.
Sometimes we're not left choices.
No, I've just had a history of like not necessarily Maya itself, but like the Autodesk like licensing applications and stuff like that are like screwing up my installs. And then also like this semester alone, I had some unfortunate catastrophic software failures. So I've actually reinstalled Windows twice in the last month. So I've had to reinstall Maya twice in the last month.
That sucks.
Yeah,
Oh, God,
it's been great.
Oh my!
I think I fixed all the problems though. Knock on wood. The second reinstall fixed all the problems that the first one didn't.
I mean, I've had to close down Maya and then put it to the side and be like, you know what? Fuck you, sort of dealio. But at the same time, I've never had to reinstall it.
I had.
It's more so I just need a break from its stupidity sometimes.
Yeah, completely understandable. Maya 2017. Literally, I woke up one morning and it just wouldn't open. There was no error. There was no crash. It just starts to opening and it doesn't do anything. Spent like months trying to get it to work. Just never worked again.
That's horrible.
Why in God's name would you use 2017? That's the worst version. It's the most
because the year was 2017. That was the one.
Then you go and you use 2014.
I ended up using 2016 until I had a rigging class at one point, I think in 2018. Like I needed like the updated graphs or something in 2018 in order to not want to kill myself.
I used 2016 until like I upgraded to 2018, and then I used 2018 until I upgraded to this version.
Yep.
Of 2020.
I'm still on 2019 because a lot of the plugins I use are still on 2019, and I don't want to bother reinstalling them all.
I think I'm still using 2018 actually.
It's good. It's stable. I'm nothing wrong with 2018. I loved it.
Yeah, it's still pretty good.
For some reason, my my 2020 Maya it kept crash when I started. It keeps flashing problem. White, and it turns my my entire screen black and flashes white. It's very weird, and then it just crashes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I tried.
You guys are you doing the? Oh, and you tried to download like the updated Maya stuff from the Autodesk downloader, like the latest patches.
I'm not sure, but I looked up something on the forum, and someone said it's because there are corrupted stuff inside the preference folder. So I tried deleted that, and it actually worked, but it happened again once. And I did it again, and it went back. I just don't know what happened, but it's probably something really easily triggered inside preferences. It happened twice to me after I used 2020 Maya.
Wow.
Yeah, and it totally sucks because you can't do anything after that triggered.
2000s.
Yeah.
A friend that's still using 2014. He's terrified of updating.
Man, I hope to go back. I
I
was
mean,
on.
there's a point where the paranoia just gets a little out of hand.
Yeah, that's when when it becomes paranoia.
Oh, there you go.
Over here.
I mean, we are living in a time of paranoia in a sense too. So.
Okay. Does anybody else have any questions about anything I'm doing so far? So I'm just basically going to give this thickness. I probably could have been a smart boy and like modeled part of it and then like just extruded it. I wasn't really thinking though, and that's usually how this works when I start low polying. I'm not really thinking like all the way through sometimes, but hopefully you can learn from my mistakes and be efficient.
I mean, you think we would learn from your mistakes, but we'll watch them and we'll make exactly the same ones about 20 minutes later.
Yep.
But then you know how to solve it.
Yeah, for a lot of clothing, if I can't use my low poly mesh and my lowest subdiv instead of ZBrush, I will re-topo one side and then just extrude and then pray that the extrusion will work like 95% of the time.
Oh no.
So that's pretty useful. That's the thing that I do all the time.
Pray.
Well, yeah.
Adobe gods.
Adobe gods. Okay.
So now great Autodesk.
This part here. So now I'm just like trying to optimize a little bit cleanly. Meaning I'm like not super worried about some of these parts here because it's probably going to be obscured by like other parts of the mesh or whatever later. So I'm just trying to like do the best job that I can, just kind of going through, cleaning things up. So I might add like a couple more edge loops here. How do you know how many polygons to use? I really can't answer that. My biggest, okay, that's a shitty cop-out answer, but my thing is like, this is probably going to sound even more like a cop-out. You need to use as many polygons you need to make it look good.
You get the nice normal map, yeah.
Yeah. So like, and to put it in perspective, we're kind of beyond the point where you have to use only 8 sides on a cylinder. You can use 12 or like 16, characters' faces can have like up to 10,000 triangles in some cases now. Things are getting pretty dense. So here's an example. Okay, so what's happening here? So I wanted to do this, and then I'll cleanly like do that.
Wow, just a Final Fantasy character going for right now.
I'm sure people have downloaded. I think people have downloaded the Final Fantasy VII remake characters, and they're probably available to look at.
Mm-hmm. This guy's just Cloud going for right now.
We looked at those Crash characters in class, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, cool. So now I've kind of made this outer shell, and now I'm just going to go through and quickly whip out this back part here. Depending again on the character, like, do I need to make this part? Probably not. But like I said, like you have the room and the polygon budget for it. Like you might as well do it, I guess. You guys played video games, right? Like so many of those games have replaceable character parts, right? And like so many of those things like have like replaceable costume elements and stuff that that will have to be taken off. Like you guys have played Skyrim, like there's a chess piece just like this in the game that like you can pick it up and move it around and look at it from all angles, right? Like so like all those things have thickness. So yeah, so now this is where I'm going to start to clean up a little bit because I'm like I really don't I don't care as much about what the inside looks like.
Oh,
I'm just gonna like do it and kind of.
Unless you won't see the polygons on the inside.
Yeah, I just need to make it basically.
All you're gonna see is just the outside.
Yeah. It's probably more UV efficient to just like delete this stuff too, because it's kind of wasted UV space. But
so
I don't know. Like, sorry, go ahead.
Is it good to have polygons in the inside, or just have all together, like have the inside and outside together.
Like this, you mean?
Like if you didn't have it, like if you don't want to like retopo the inside of it because you're not going to see it.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the character and what you're going for. I mean, probably you can get away with deleting it. Nobody's really going to know as long as there's no visible holes or like seams. But someone's got to replace their fire alarm. It feels like go over here. Bam, bam, bam. Bam, bam, bam. I'm just kind of doing this for the demo. I'll show you guys the actual low poly for this character once I'm done. And we'll do some, we'll do like a couple tests inside of Marmoset as well so you guys can see how that works. Okay, here we go over here. Bam, bam. Come on, Pat, you can do this. Basically, I'm just trying to make a watertight mesh.
Yep.
There we go. Bam. Sure. I mean, this is not ideal, but I'm kind of rushing through that demo, this part here. Okay. What does that do? Okay. Let's just like kind of clean that up here. Sure. It kind of works out there. There we go, bud. I mean, if this was going to bend, the animator would definitely be like, I need it to have the same edge loops on the inside and the outside. They would like eat you apart for sure. So for example, like here, maybe is where I'll like try to do that. There we go, like that. Animators are pretty picky about this stuff sometimes, especially on freelance projects that you're working on. You want to make sure you make them nice stuff.
The bend.
Okay, there we go. Just kind of going through, checking to make sure like all my edges are kind of lining up where I'm expecting them to. Yeah, this is probably where I can add a couple edge loops because like I just want it to be rounder. Maybe back here too. Actually, let's wait to do that because I want to finish the low poly first. Hello? Okay, there we go. How much more do I got to do? Oh, God. Okay. We can blaze through this. Come on, Pat. Okay, there we go. Bam.
That's one of those things that you never actually do. Like, you don't want to know how much more you have to do.
Yeah.
Just kind of ignore that.
Yep, bliss. Just keep going. Just
ignorance is bliss.
So I'm just going to quickly...
Yes, she is.
Do that. Quadra. Smooth this out a little bit. Bam. Okay. Just got to do this inside part. Okay. I mean, I'm showing you guys the reality of it, okay? It's like, it's boring and you got to be fast. Because if like a freelance client or something is like, it has to be 20,000. You can't make it bigger than 20,000. Then you got to make it 20,000. So this is the part where I'm like, okay, I really want to make sure I have clean edge loops here to subdivide later. Bam. Could probably make my life a lot easier if I delete some edge loops and then re-add them, but I'm not gonna. Bam. Hello? Okay. Okay. Okay, just hold. I'm just holding control to check there to make sure that everything's kind of still working. Okay. We're almost done. Okay, now this piece here. So yeah, let's just do this. Okay. Sometimes like the other parts of the face like get in there. Okay, yeah, nice. Okay, cool. That works. Anybody else have any questions so far about this?
So if you sorry, ahead.
Go for it.
If you have asymmetry in your thing, but for things like say wrinkles or folds in the clothing, do you kind of go build out your symmetrical like retopo and then go back and change it for the small bits of asymmetry, or do you just take that into account from the beginning?
Yeah. So usually, depending on how complex the symmetry is, like or the asymmetry is, I try to make it symmetrical and then go back later. So like I'll do a clothing fold demo later for sure, where I have like really asymmetrical folds. So I'll like try to build out as much as I can, but then usually at some point I try to make sure that I go in there and like manually create the geometry I need. But I also try to make sure generally at that point they have about the same amount of edge loops going up and about the same amount of edge loops vertically as well.
Got it.
Yeah. There we go. So in this instance, I could leave this as just a flat plane, but I want it to look nice. So I'm going to like bevel it a little bit. It kind of, gives the just geometry a little bit more breathing room. It'll look nicer in the bake, I think. So, don't be afraid to do that too. In this instance, I created some sort of cursed mesh that like some kind of cursed edge loop there. So we can just kind of ignore that I didn't do that. But I mean, whatever. Yeah, it kind of works out, I guess. And then I did that over here as well. I kind of like inserted a few edge loops here. It's just going to help smooth it out later. Cool. So then I'm done. And now it's time to create the UVs. So if you guys aren't familiar with UVing, let's actually split these videos into a couple of different videos because I know this is a long demo. So stop recording. All right, so now we're going to UV. So first things first, you want to turn off live surface. We don't really need this anymore. You can just hide it. I usually just hide it in my list of high polys. And now we have this mesh. So now we need to UV it. So how do I always create? I usually always create my UVs by just going to UV. Hold on, let's start off. So the UV editor is this button here, or you can go to UV editor, which will open this guy up. Should give you, an absolutely jarbled mess like this. And then go to UV and hit camera based like that. That just kind of resets it, and then it makes sure everything in the scene has a UV shell basically. And then immediately I'm just going to hit soften on this so I can start to figure out where I want all my edge loops to be. So already I can tell I have some 5-sided n-gons I want to clean up. If you guys aren't aware of how to clean up n-gons efficiently, what you can do is you can go to select, use constraints, and then go into face mode, hit all in next, quads. So now all the quads are selected. And then you click n-sided and it will show you where all the n-sided polygons are. And it looks like we only have these two here. Make sure you hit close and reset so you don't this will lock your selection to only these polygons. If you don't do that, it's kind of annoying. So just make sure you hit close and reset. So yeah, it looks like I got a weird freaky issue here. I'm just going to clean this up really fast with the multi-cut tool. If I was a little bit, if I was paying more attention to my low poly process, I probably would have caught that before it became an issue. But yeah, not a huge deal, I guess. Cool. Okay, yeah, it looks like, all right, cool. Then we're going to hit delete history again. So this is the delete history button. I actually still have delete history turned off, so I actually don't even need to do that. But so now we can open this guy back up. Here's our UVs. So now let's cut our UVs. So we're just going to cut along the kind of inside edges here, like so. I have symmetry still turned on. You don't usually want to have symmetry on when you're UVing because sometimes it can really lag your machine, especially if you have a very dense mesh when you go to select all your UVs. But for this one particular asset, it's not a huge deal. There we go. Just kind of going through.
On the topic of N-guns, I'm aware that N-guns are bad, but I've never really quite gotten. I mean, I'm under the impression that they mess up animations, right? As opposed to. Is that really just it, though?
I'll show you in a sec. Hang on. Because I kind of fucked up. That edge loop that was cursed, I created an absolute monster with my UVs. So I kind of need to actually select these by hand. Kind of annoying. Okay. But that is a good question. Let's go over here.
I've seen Ngon screw up like importing files as well before.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the engines don't like them either, right?
Yeah.
Most engines will triangulate before you send stuff into them anyway, or during the import process, which will technically fix Ngons or just make them non-gons.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Non-gons. All right. So, okay, let me. That is a very good question, and I have a good answer for it. I just want to finish this UV really fast. Okay, so then we go over here. Sure, whatever, dude. Just cut this up. I don't give a crap. I mean, I do give a crap. I want to do a good job in front of my students. Okay, there we go. Shift X to cut there. So Shift X is the hotkey to cut your UVs, which basically will turn them into shells so that you can lay them out right. Hopefully, most of you are familiar with this. If not, let's talk about it. Hit me up so I can try to help you out as much as I can, because I'm teaching 105, which is like Maya 101. So like I have no trouble right now answering any sort of more basic Maya questions. It's fine. That's what you're here to learn for. That's why you paid for this class. So, don't feel bad about asking questions. So now you should be able to go in the UV shell and hopefully grab it. Looks like I still have like an edge in here I didn't cut somewhere. Where do you think I didn't cut them? Oh, it's up here. No, that's fine. I think I need to do something like this so that they're actually separated. Okay, so hit Control U to unfold. So it's still cut here. So I can actually find these two seams, which is like, oh, there we go. They weren't cut there. So cuts, Shift X. Grab this guy, Control U to unfold, and then Control U to unfold. And now my UVs are, they're still connected. Where's this guy? Bam, there we go. Shift X. Control U, Control U. Awesome. So then you might want to go and check your stretching or your kind of, I think that's, what is this mode called? Distortion, which determines how distorted, quote unquote, the UVs will look. Basically, that means like, if it's red, the UVs have to do a lot more to you have to pack in. You're packing in too much information in those particular UVs, so they're getting distorted. White is usually a pretty good range. Blue is like too much space. You're giving too much space to these particular UVs. Basically, you want to watch out for really big red areas. So like for that, you can just go down here and like just Shift X to cut, and go over here and Shift X to cut like right here. And then hopefully when you unfold, there you go. You get like a little bit better of an unwrap. And then just turn that mode off, grab everything. Turn symmetry off at this point because, that lags everything. And then press Control U one more time. And then Control L to just do a really quick layout. If I was really doing this for a character, I would be like, okay, well, any shells that are in front of the camera, or like rather in front of the character. So like these front shells are way more important to lay out and to make bigger.
So you use the outer shells, the outer.
Yeah, these outer shells are much more important than these tiny baby shells. Like I don't really give a crap about these, so I can just scale them out.
So you won't be able to see those.
Yeah, I mean in reality on the UV sheet they might be like this big.
Okay.
Yeah. I'll show you in my UV sheet on this guy. Okay, so that's the UVs. So I do want to answer the question that was asked. So why are Ngons really bad? And why do you eventually why is eventually everything triangulated? So where's my phone? Okay, my alarm's going off, but we'll deal with that in a sec. Actually, let's take a quick break for 5 minutes and then I can answer that question, okay? Cool. So everyone take 5, come back at 10:05. And I'll stop the recording. Okay. 5. I need to drink some water. Okay. I'm gonna. Okay, is everyone back? Sorry about that. I had to take some pills. Okay, cool. So, all right, I'm just gonna start recording. Is Artie here?
I am here.
Okay, cool. All right, so 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, so normally, what you would do next with this, if you were doing a more traditional, maybe not a character, is you would probably duplicate the mesh and then triangulate it before you bake it. So go to mesh, triangulate, and that triangulates it basically, right? So why do you want to do that in Maya and not let the computer do it for you when you import it into the video game engine? And why do you want to watch out for n-gons? So let's say you have a polygon, right? You guys love polygons. So you have a polygon like this that you're modeling for whatever reason. Oh, I have history turned off, so hang on. Let me turn history back on, and then there we go. So let's say you have a polygon that's like this. And you have a mesh. You have some part of the mesh that's doing this, right? So when you look at this mesh, you kind of are like, I want it to go, I know that I'm kind of creating like a valley, and I want it to go in this direction, right? Like facing forward. So, but when Maya looks at this polygon, it has no idea what direction this edge it will go when it triangulates, basically. So you can triangulate it in a couple ways, right? Maya, the engine could potentially interpret it like this, like how you want it to interpret, or it could interpret it like this and create a completely different shape than the shape that you were making. And so when you have an n-gon kind of in the middle as a part of that, Maya has, again, no idea. And the engine definitely has no idea how to interpret that particular piece of geometry. It could create this shape. It could create this shape. It could create, this shape, which will then go ahead and create like this shape when you triangulate it, which is, again, the opposite of what we want. So that's why you kind of want to keep stuff hopefully quadded. And additionally, if you have any n-gons, you clean them up manually. And then you double check kind of the triangulation before you export it. So you want to be in full control of your mesh, basically. Does that hopefully answer your guys' questions about that?
Yeah, no, but that's a whole can of worms right there.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not really something I thought of basically until like a few years ago. Because I was like, why do people really triangulate? But, so that's why, and also while you're low polying, I didn't do the best job maintaining my edge flow. But even while you're low polying, you still want to like maintain decent edge flow and edge loops and stuff. So you don't run into weird situations like I did where when you insert an edge, it inserts an entire spiral, basically. Yeah, anybody else have any questions about that?
Just make beautiful squares and triangles in here.
Yeah, basically, try to keep it clean.
5 sides.
I mean, if it's a really flat surface, you can get away with putting whatever you want and then just doing the engine whatever. But like, even then, like, I don't know. I'm importing stuff into Unreal, and Unreal Engine has a really weird triangulation issue. Like, I don't know. It's very different than how I'm used to it. So usually you would want to triangulate before you export to bake, which I'm going to talk about now. So let's get ready to do the actual bake part. So I'm going to stop my recording and restart the next one. So, okay. So hopefully this part will be a little bit faster. So now that you have your low poly, let's get into how you actually do a bake or do a test bake. I really recommend that you guys do test bakes, once you have some basic UVs, just to see what it's going to look like, to give you an idea in case you have to add more geometry. You probably will have to readjust the UVs, but just to check to see how things are looking. So I have my mesh here. I'm going to name this in Maya chest plate underscore low. Okay. And then I'm actually going to duplicate it and hide the original, or hide this duplicate and then triangulate this guy, because I did that whole spiel there about why you should triangulate it, basically. So there we go. And then I'm going to delete my history, center my pivot, freeze my transforms, double check really fast that my UVs are all in the O1 space. Okay, they aren't. Good thing I checked. So let's actually press Control Z a couple times. Before I did that, delete this guy. Open this up. Make sure my UVs are all in the 0 to 1 space here. So O1 space means 0 to 1. You want to make sure everything's in the 0 to 1 space. Not the most UV efficient, but we could work on that later. Cool. And then so now we have something like this. So let me delete my history again. Duplicate, hide the original, hide that duplicate, and then triangulate it. Mesh. Triangulate. All right, cool. So then we're going to delete our history, and then we're going to export a selection. And usually what I do is I just have a folder in my project folders, for example, here called bake or baking, where I do all of my baking stuff. So
are you going to have both the triangle and the square, the other low poly?
For this demo, I'm just going to use the triangulated one. We're not going to use the quadded one. So I'll call this like head or we'll call this chest plate underscore low. So I'm going to show you guys something inside of Marmoset here. I don't know what you guys have used to bake in the past, but I like to use Marmoset Toolbag because it just displays all of the information that I need for my bake as efficiently as possible for me, basically, and gives me a ton of control. We're going to use this feature. I mean, this feature is also in Substance Painter. It just displays it in a different way. Actually, it doesn't really display it at all, but it does use it. We're going to use this feature called Bake Groups. Is anybody familiar with those? Or know what I mean?
Can't say I am, no.
It's where you have the
I am.
Oh, fancy boy.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is, right? So if we go back to ZBrush, right? So in ZBrush, all of these pieces are technically separate subtools, right? Obviously,
yeah.
Yes. So there's a couple ways that you can get around this, right? Because basically what we need to do is we need to export this low poly as one piece and make sure that it bakes down to one low poly. So, and they have to have the same naming convention. There's lots of different ways that you could get around this. There's the first way that you could is that you could just merge all these assets into one tool or into one subtool and just leave it. That, of course, like gets rid of your subdivisions, can get rid of your layers, can delete a lot of stuff. But that is probably the most straightforward way that I've done it. It's just I've merged all this stuff into a single tool, named it chestplate underscore high, and then I'm done with it. Another way that I've done this is I leave them separated as subtools, but then I use my naming conventions and bake groups to help separate the high to low objects. So what do I mean? So for this specific guy, all of these pieces here are named something separate because that's what I named them for my actual production bake. But for this, I'm going to call them all chestplate underscore high. But then I'm going to add a number at the end. It doesn't matter what you add after the high, as long as it has the same first name, the same suffix, which is high poly, but then something after it, like X, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 50. Marmoset will know to take that object and to put it in the same bake group as the other objects that are named very similarly to it. So let me show you for this example. So I'll call this chestplate high 3. This will be called, we'll leave this guy separate. We'll leave his name there. And then we'll call this chestplate high underscore 1. And then this will be chestplate high underscore 2. I don't think, I do think actually capitalization does matter. So let me make sure they're all capitalized in the same way. So chestplate high 2, and then chestplate high underscore 3. But then I have this piece here. This is not named properly. This is named what I had it earlier. So you guys will see what will happen when I don't name stuff properly, and when you don't name stuff properly. So I'm going to go to Z plugin. I'm going to just export these as my current high poly, basically. I'll get into the specifics of what you should decimate and what you should clean up later, but for right now, we don't really have to worry about that. So I'm going to export all visible subtools. One export option I always usually recommend people turn on is this button here called Export Polygroups as Materials. And I'm going to hit export here, and I'm just going to call it chestplate _ high. Then it's going to run through and look for all the visible subtools and just export them. And then hopefully, I mean, it takes a second for sure. So let's see what happens. So while that's loading, I'm going to check my Discord really fast. This part can definitely take a second, especially if you're exporting a huge mesh. So then it should be done. Cool. So file exporting. So I like to use Marmoset Toolbag to bake. If you set up your file in the same way, you can also totally use Substance Painter. It doesn't really, they both give similar results. They're both really good. So I'm going to go create a new scene here. I don't like this background. Don't like that background. It's the same background. There we go. Something like this, whatever. So I want to set up my bake. So I'm going to click this button here called New Baker. It looks like a bread icon because haha, baking bread. Funny. And then we're going to go over here to quick load, and we're going to load up my bake group here. So I'm going to go to fall semester, game 340, module 7. Just grab both of these and hit OK. It'll load up. Should take a second. Okay, cool. So you'll see here, now I have my baker set up. But now you guys should be able to see I have these folders here. Do you guys see them? Yes?
Yes.
So these are my bake group folders. So this is the chest plate folder that I made by creating and naming everything chest plate. And you can see here I have chest plate 1, chest plate 2, chest plate 3, and my low poly here, chest plate low. But then over here I have my other piece. That one piece I didn't name properly, it's in its own bake group. So it doesn't have a low poly to bake to, so it's not going to bake to this low poly surface. Okay. So let me do this again. Sorry. So why do I need to do, so why even do that, Pat? Like, why are you showing us the wrong thing? Because you guys are all going to do this. Okay. I've done this, I've taught this class like 5 times. And everyone's like, my bake doesn't work. Why is it we're not working? And I'm like, you have to name stuff properly. So let's set up a test bake here. It's a test. And then just hit bake. So when I bake it, this low poly is going to have an error because the basically a whole part of it didn't even bake to it. Bake to what I needed. So I can click this button to see my high poly, hit P to see a preview of it. You can see right here. Where's that piece of my high poly? It's because you didn't even name it properly and it didn't go into the right bake group. So you can fix that really easily by just going back to ZBrush and renaming it. But if you're stupid lazy like me sometimes, you can just click and drag it into the high poly bake group here, like so. And then now when I hit bake, it'll rebake. Should be pretty fast, hopefully. I mean, I did move a bunch of information around, so it should take actually a second. And there we go. So now that information is there. Wow. Pog, right?
I still don't know what that means.
Pog or the bake groups?
No, Pog.
Okay, well, we can talk about that later. But do you guys understand the bake groups thing?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, I get it.
Okay, so that's why you want to name stuff properly. So let me show you a more complicated setup that has a lot of different bait groups. Okay. So actually, okay, so hold on. Before we do that, though, let's talk about what the whole point of this process is. Basically, you want to test your UVs to see if you have any weird errors or like if anything's missing. If you're getting any weird stretching or any particularly bad aliasing. Little errors like this, you can totally just change the low poly offset here and it should fix itself automatically. But for example, here, like, I'm like, that's a really bad read. I can probably fix that by adding more edge loops if I want to and rebaking. The cool thing about Marmoset Toolbag is if I go back and do that, so if I delete this guy, hide these dudes, turn on my low poly here, and then go to the mulling toolkit and quad draw, and I add like another edge loop here, like turn symmetry back on, quad draw, bam, like that. Something like that. And then delete my history and then go back to my UVs. Do another quick turn symmetry off here. Do another quick unwrap like so. And then hide this guy. Delete my history, rename it to be the same as it was before. Control D, hide the original. Mesh, triangulate it. Basically, I just recreated the low poly, right? And then delete my history, and then I go to File, Export Selection, and I just overwrite the low poly that I created. And I go back to Marmoset Toolbag. It should just reload the low poly. It should auto-load it, basically. All right, cool. There we go. So it looks like we have an error now because we added more geometry. But now I should be able to go back to my baker and just hit rebake. And now that error is not as egregious. So that's the cool thing about Marmoset is that you can like quickly update kind of in real time and double check for those types of errors.
So for the baking, do you want us to do it in Marmoset or do you want us to do it in Substance?
I'm going to demo both. It's really up to you guys what you guys want to use and what you have access to. Marmoset is kind of expensive and it's probably not going to go on sale until Black Friday, unfortunately. Which is probably around when you guys are probably going to end up baking, if I am 100% honest with you all on this time frame. Yeah, it's like, I don't know, Substance Painter, it gives good results. I just like the control that you have in Marmoset personally, and I'll show you guys that later in the future. But
Marmoset's a little more beginner friendly. A lot more beginner friendly.
I feel like Substance Painter is way more beginner friendly because it.
Well, if you run into problems and you don't know how to use because Substance Painter just has like sliders and stuff for all the settings, whereas Marmoset, like you can actually like pull out a cage and like visually see stuff.
Yeah, that I totally agree with.
If Substance Painter had that.
Yeah,
I've been using some design for the material artwork with programming some materials all day.
It would be way better for sure. So let me load up a more complex scene so you guys can see all the millions of different bait groups that I have on a character. Baking. It's going to take a second to load because it's a huge file.
Dang.
So yeah, here's my character that I worked on. And so here's all the millions of bait groups that I have here. So here's an example. Here's his suit, right?
That's a lot.
So yeah, here's his suit. And if I turn off his high poly, if I turn on his high poly here, you can see kind of all the millions of different subtools that I have. So in his body, I have his main body. I have like the straps that he kind of attaches, the stripes. Where's the stripes? They're like right here. Yeah, these guys, these flashing I don't know if you guys can see that, but like all these flashing details, those are all separate things that I wanted to bake into the suit. Now some of these, like, let me hide the high poly because it's actually lagging me. Some of these details, like these individual hand pieces, I probably could have got away with combining a lot of them into more of a single subtool and more of a single mesh. I just didn't, I guess. I just really wanted all the control that I could have, basically. Yeah. But I mean, yeah. I mean, you don't have to do it like this if you want to. You can just, merge things into subtools and make it much more manageable for yourself. I just wanted to really be in full control of what I was making and like make sure I didn't, if I had to go back into ZBrush, it would be really easy every single time to just re-export, basically. So yeah, but that's the power of this tool, I think, is that you just have a ton of options. And in Substance Painter, let me just show you. I'll just show you in Substance Painter really fast. Ooh, Oberdin is on sale. I want to play that. Okay, hide this. Go to File, New Scene. Let's select my high poly here. Fall semester. Bam. So here's my low poly. Just import that. Oh, so I didn't name. So again, this is what's going to happen inside of Substance Painter if you don't set this up properly. So in this case, you want to make sure that you use match by mesh name. So when I hit bake and it bakes, it should transfer all the detail. But because I didn't set my names properly, I actually need to turn off match by mesh name. Oh God, what's wrong with my normal map?
Oh no!
I actually need to turn off match by mesh name because so that it actually like bakes everything that I want into each other because I didn't name everything properly in my bake. So whatever, I'll show you guys how to properly do that in the future. This looks really bad because my bake is really low quality. If I turn it up to 2048, but then turn everything off here, I'll get a much more high quality normal map bake. There we go. Cool. You might have noticed that Substance Painter was way faster than Marmoset. It is. They both have their ups and downs. One is not particularly better than the other, I think. I mean, the upside of Substance Painter is that I can just immediately start texturing. Doesn't have to be anything too crazy. But Marmoset, like I said, I just feel like you have more control. Cool. So does anybody have any questions about any of that?
For the Marmoset one, how do you save out the map?
So what it does is it saves out a PSD. And then you can just import these PSDs into Substance Painter, or you can just export them as like slightly lower quality Targas if you want to. But yeah, it just exports a PSD. And you can just start texturing on these, or you can, like I said, import them into Substance Painter and start texturing on them. It really depends.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You can change the options in the bake settings to export to whatever you want, though.
Yeah. If we go back to that over here, you can export as, if you click on the baker itself, okay, sorry, this is going to lag my computer a little bit, but when you click on the baker, you can change all the settings here. So right now I have it to export as a multi-layer PSD. I actually recommend that you don't export as a multi-layer PSD because that can just give you gigantic empty Photoshop files that do nothing. I recommend you just export a bunch of PSDs. Why PSDs? Because PSDs are like the highest quality. Usually I save as PSDs and then just import them. That does lead to gigantic file sizes in Substance Painter, like 4 or 5 gigabytes. if you want to, you can export it instead. If you click here, you can save it as whatever you want. So Targa, PNG, Photoshop document, either PSD or Targa. Probably maybe Targa. Wait, no, don't do Targa. You want to do... Oh, you can't export as a TIFF, huh? Man, that's annoying. Yeah, I would do PSD. Just PSD format gives you so much more options. You can export as 16 bits, and then you can just re-export them as TIFFs from side Photoshop. It's just, I don't know, it's just so much more control personally. Yeah. Anybody else have any questions? Sorry for the yawn. No, nobody else has any more questions about that?
Not specifically about this, but I do have a question about manually touching up normal maps that come out kind of like
you never want to do that. Nope.
Never? Okay.
Never. Well, you can. I have done it, but ideally you never really want to do it. With Marmoset, you should have so much control that you shouldn't have to do it. But if you really, really have to, it's just like one little thing that you just know you cannot fix. You can use. I just use the clone tool and just paint it out, and that generally works. Yeah. Sorry, what was going to be your full question? Because I kind of cut you off.
No, sometimes when I'm doing normal bakes, there'd be like little artifacts in there. And I know when I go in to manually touch it up, that sometimes I will make it worse. In fact, almost always. So
yeah. So if we go back to that scene we were doing there, let's just do a new scene. And re-import our high poly here. 340. So we'll go into this one in more detail in our baking lecture for sure, but ideally when you use the cage tool, like the cage tool should be able to show you all the little details that you have, right? So if I turn off, let me reset up my bake groups here. And then let me change the background. There we go. Turn off the high poly here. And hit bake. That's kind of awkward. Why does that look so bad? It probably doesn't look like that when I bake it though, right? And then hit preview. There we go. So so say for example, I have this like kind of ugly edge here at the bottom that I'm not really a fan of, right? So yeah, you could like tweak it in, so many different ways. Like you could open up the cage settings here and like make the cage a little bit bigger so that it captures more information. You could also use this feature called the skew functionality where you can paint the skew. So I can like make this flatter and it'll give me like a more specific look to my edge. That's really useful for like painting out cylinders and stuff. Probably not so useful here, but yeah, those are like all the different ways that I would like try to fix it inside of Marmoset before I would like try to fix it in Photoshop.
Cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And the reason you don't really want to hand fix normal maps is because normal maps are not just an image; they're like math. Like the engine interprets all the different color channels as specific mathematical information in the engine, so that you can like it can actually like make the detail look good. Yeah, cool. So that's it for that. That's what you guys have to look forward to and what you probably should start thinking about as you get into finalizing your high poly. So let's, I'm going to stop the recording and let's take a look at some people's work and answer some questions.
The yawns be real today, man.
I know I slept so bad last night. I know why I did. So not gonna do that again. So again, looks like not a lot of people have posted their stuff. Please make sure you post your latest work to the drive or to the posting here if you have not.
Yeah, 1 minute. Totally forgot about that. Sorry.
Yeah,
I just gotta make my prop part of this work for my character.
Let's take a look at Tahoe's really fast.
Oh, that's gonna kill me all night.
Does anybody have any specific questions though they want me to ask? I know that Ashley, for example, has been asking about the coat. We can talk about that.
Do you have a question as a follow-up from last week?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's take a look. Let me take a look at a couple of these. Okay.
I was watching how to do Fortnite here.
You have a question on how to do it?
No, I've been watching Fortnite tutorials how to model their hair. It's like interesting.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god! I need to go on a walk. I'm so sorry, everybody.
See, I've been on mute a few times, and so yeah, you're not the only one yawning.
I'll get a cup of coffee after later. Go to Starbucks.
I think I'm gonna have to take a nap because
same.
I don't think I'm gonna make it till nighttime, man.
I've been up for about 24 hours now, so.
Wow.
little on the gone side.
About 3 o'clock.
Okay.
It's kind of part of our course in James' class as is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's muscle
this is
memory.
The wrong person.
I don't sleep because I don't want to. I sleep because I don't know how.
Okay.
Fortnite.
Okay. All right. So looking like pretty improved over the last couple weeks. Let's start recording here.
I just gotta go to the shoes next. I'll be good.
I
just been working on the shirts and the armor parts.
Yeah, this looks pretty good.
I'll put the small little details there. The rope and the strings would be the last part.
Yeah. I mean, I would argue that like these details, you might want to make them separate subtools. I think just trying to extrude these details out is not going to look as clean as if they were a separate overlaid piece. Personally, because like I can already tell, like when I opened up the file and I zoom in, like I can kind of see that they're looking a little chunky. I mean, I think it kind of works here because like this, I don't know what this is, some type of like thing.
Yeah, I was looking into it. It's actually a part of an armor part. It's like it's interesting. It's like I have to look at it again. I have the figure.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even in this specific scenario, I would separate out this middle piece and make the rim a separate part too, just so you can like really control the two surfaces separately from each other.
So make a separate subtool. Okay.
Yeah, kind of like how you did over here. Maybe it looks like. I mean, that's fine though. Like, yeah. The thumb though. All right, we gotta like. I don't know if you've like adjusted the hands like since we've had our class. No, not really. Okay. I don't even know where her hands are.
I'm not there. Not the gloves. Yeah, I've been working on the
okay. Definitely need to get these thumbs looking pretty decent. I mean, even just doing this, like giving a little bit of weight there is like probably fine. But yeah, I mean, otherwise it's looking pretty cool. These details, yeah, they're looking all right. I might smooth them out like maybe a tiny bit and like, let's talk about that. So part of what I wanted to do today was talk about seams and stuff and like using tools and stuff. Okay, yeah. Hey, look at that. Yeah, that's looking good.
That was a tutorial hair. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, I would also still kind of like make those separate objects.
For the hair.
Yeah, her profile. I think this hair here is kind of like making her chin look like very big. Okay. I don't think that's like.
It's just when her jaw's open. It's like.
Oh god. She doesn't have a neck.
It's in there. It's at the bottom.
You can probably make this a little bit sharper. Yeah, because from the front, I'm digging it. I just feel like
side, yeah.
Something about the profile is kind of bugging me. Is it because like there's like too much distance between here and here? Maybe the face just needs to come in a little bit. I'm not really sure. Yeah, I would make these a lot. I don't know. I might make these like a lot pointier with just like the pinch tool.
I'll just use the pinch. Okay.
Yeah.
You want me to combine this or just leave it as it be? Like
so I was talking to Daniel. I was showing Daniel some examples of that over in because he asked for some feedback this week. Let me see if I can just load up the email. So there's a lot of different ways that you could tackle it for sure. I've handled it quite a few different ways. I have this like very specific album. Oh, God, I wish we could listen to music right now in class because I would like play the music that's in my head, and it's just like this bumping jazz track that I've been listening to while working. Where is it, Daniel? Daniel Yen. Okay, there you go. So there's a lot of different ways that you could tackle this stuff. So I didn't share this with everybody, but if you guys want to see it, I can totally give it to everyone right now. This is a very old hair tutorial that I have referenced. This is made by a guy called CG Samu. I have no idea what happened to CG Samu or where he is. I hope he's okay because he has not updated his website or any of his portfolio in like a very long time.
Oh, this ours.
Art Station. Yeah, his name's Sam Yang, actually. He made these like really sick Pokemons, and like I guess he got rid of all his Ruby fan art, but he like made really sick Ruby fan art and stuff. And like
went after him, probably the Ruby fans went after him this time.
Yeah,
it's so bad in that community.
Yeah, so I don't know what he's doing or where he's at, but he's like an amazing artist. But yeah, he has this. I can post this video to you guys, but it's kind of like basically what I talked about, right? Like splitting the hair into more specific chunks. Now, the reason you want to do that is because there's a specific technique that you can use to kind of make the hair look a specific way that you want. So like if you guys have played like a game like Overwatch, right? Is there like a videos of all? Can I look and see like Overwatch all Farah skins or something like that? That's then why is Steve there? That's not Steve. That's not Farah. Okay. All right. I just want to see like a shot of her hair, right? So you can kind of see. Okay, perfect shot, right? So you can kind of see that they have this effect going on. This kind of like wavy effect.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone can kind of see that, right? Hopefully.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay. So basically what they're doing is that they sculpt in some detail into their hair. Beep. God, that fire. Someone's got to replace their smoke detector, dude. It's driving me insane. I can hear it on the mic. Anyway, so they sculpt some detail into their fur clumps or whatever. But not like a ton, because they fake a lot of that detail with the anisotropic shader inside of Marmoset Toolbag. And this specific tutorial goes into how you would do that. And basically you kind of do it the same way. You got to create individual hair strands and you lay them out in a specific way in your UV map here. And then you use this thing called the anisotropy direction, which kind of fakes that how how to fakes the highlight going in a specific way. So instead of it going vertical, it can actually go horizontal and give you that specific effect.
The texture part of the.
Yeah, so this is for texturing. So do you want to combine them? Do you not want to combine them? It is really kind of up to you. I would look at reference. I was
trying to think of that. I was like,
I would say for these like specific strains, like maybe, okay, first off, this is looking really good for sure. I would say this is I'm trying to be nicer, not nicer, but I want to make sure like I'm saying like everyone's doing good work. And I want to say, Tahoe, this is definitely drastically improving week over week. So yeah,
I can
great
share
stuff.
The Fortnite, if everyone's doing this kind of hair, I had the Fortnite link to the thing.
Do that.
Yeah, my friend sent it to me. I was like, oh shit.
For sure.
Or a project.
Yeah, you want to kind of avoid this look, like this too faceted look. So just like kind of smooth it or just like subdivide it one more time. Because that is definitely gonna appear in your normal map.
That week. That last week, I was like, oh no. I had time to hair.
I mean, I would even be like, depending on how much time you have, like maybe split this up into more chunks too.
Mm-hmm.
I think it does look nice, but again, if you're going to do this, you want to avoid that. You want it to look really clean.
Okay.
Yeah, you want it to look really clean. So try to avoid like all this ugly like dynameshing detail together, basically. I know you looks like you haven't even really touched this in a while, so I would clean that up for sure.
That's the last part of the detail. Those are the small bits. I was gonna try to do the big bits soon.
And then I might like try to like get in here and like manage this a little bit so it's like not so thick off the surface.
Mm-hmm. You have any people that does like any like tail, like furry tails? Because I've been trying to find really good examples. I was like, this is not even ArtStation's not giving what I need. I was like, shit.
Ovric, right? It's Ovric. Ovrisk. Why did I write Ovrisk? Okay, I misspelled his name. But there's this guy I follow. His name's Jacob Orvik. He's like, I would say he's like a furry artist, I guess, obviously. But he has worked on Spyro and stuff. He hasn't really like, oh man, he's got a whole bunch of stuff here. He makes so much stuff. Like I follow him on Twitter and he's just pumping out so much stuff.
I can't think of a tail design. I'm like, I've been testing different tails. I'm like, okay, this is really annoying to me.
Yeah. He just has really nice designs and stuff. I actually really like those shoes. I thought he would have more tails because he just has been pumping out so much.
Yeah. You'd split it up a little bit more. This is interesting. I've been looking at different models.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets worse after that. I was like,
yeah,
get out here.
Who else is there? There's also Manuel. Jorge.
Okay, let me stick that in there.
Okay, a lot of people. Okay, this guy. Here you go. I got to show this to my other student. I'll post it here, but he probably has some really good clay renders that you could reference too.
Just gotta look at the back tail. That's all I need is the tails.
Yeah.
I never did. This is my first time doing like a furry tail. I'm like, this is the only that's different from my other characters.
So here's his ArtStation, but on his Twitter, can I go to his Twitter from here?
Yeah, you can. It should be linked.
He is doing like this insane full like X-Gen CG render of this lion character that he's been making, and it looks like incredible, like the little shots that he's put out.
That looks gorgeous.
Yeah, but he works in CG and he he's worked on Zootopia, I believe, and he's like done. He works. I think he just works in China now doing this type of viz dev stuff. So,
that detail is well done.
Yeah, it is crazy. So like, this is what when you guys take an advanced character class with me, and I'm like, it doesn't really matter what your polygon count is. Just make the best looking stuff possible. This is what I mean. Like, make the best looking stuff you possibly can.
How many triangles is that?
I mean, I don't know. But
don't ask that question. You don't want to know the answer.
What time is it? Okay, I'm trying to make
Gameplay
sure
wise, I know that.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's not for gameplay. It's for his portfolio, and his work is like getting previs work or like to work in CG, right? So like, and even like even in video games, you do have to make like optimized work, but like this guy works for Horizon. He works at Guerrilla Games. This character is super dense. It's like 2,000 over 200k triangles or something. Like, where does he say that? It's 210 triangles. It's 9 UV sets.
Oh,
1024. And he works at Guerrilla Games. So like, you don't really have to like make optimized work. Like, if it has a normal map and it looks really, really good, people are going to be like, wow, this guy knows what he's doing, I feel like.
I had an instructor once tell me that, especially for portfolio work, it's more important that you show like that you can do the really high-end sculpting and like really detailed work than it is to have like perfectly optimized, because they can't teach you can't be taught really how to do this stuff. You just have to learn how to do it by spending a lot of time sculpting. But like you can be taught how to do a low poly in a few days.
Who told you that? Can I ask that? Or
I feel like it was Oliver Braza.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Oliver's my friend. He's Mercurial Forge, right?
Yeah.
That's great. That's a good thought. Yes. That's how I feel it. And actually, I'm going to start saying it that way too, because like when you get hired at a studio, they're going to be like, we need this character in 2 weeks. Go. Like, you got to make it the best looking thing possible. So you got to devote the time now to make the best looking possible stuff you can before. And then, yeah, you can, because like sometimes at some studios, they even just have juniors do the optimization work, which is really shitty. I saw some of my friends talking about it in their Discord channel. Like, they just make juniors and like assistants do the optimization, which is just like really soul draining and shitty. But yeah,
so make it look good as high poly as possible, and then low poly.
Yeah, but I mean, this guy's work is like, I would say this is a game asset. Like it's like not CG. Like, he has a bunch of triangles. Like, if this was CG, like he wouldn't have all these triangles. Like, these would be way smoother and quaded out for sure. Like, this, if this was CG, this character would be like 400k triangles and like would probably have like 32 texture sheets. So like for video games, like we still have to like kind of cleanly optimize, quote unquote, but you still got to make the best looking stuff possible.
Okay.
So that's why I'm like telling you guys, when you make your low polys, like, yeah, 30k, 50k, that's like not unheard of. Like, if you go to look at some junior's profile, like they're going to be making crazy shit. I wanted to look this up too, because this kind of has like some cool,
That tail's really, that's the tail I was looking at. One of my references I was looking at too.
Yeah.
But it was like, how?
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to separate all of that or just combine it. I'm like,
Oh, let me show you my thing for fur. I don't think I showed this to this class. I'm going to paste an image in the chat. You guys will have to be really freaking cool and not share this image publicly. Okay?
I think you should just do us last week.
Okay, I'm going to paste it in the chat here really fast. I think it's this one here.
Let's see what. Oh, yeah, that's the one you showed us.
Yeah, so, if you haven't grabbed it yet, grab it now.
Yeah, you grab it because that's.
Yeah. Oh, this is a really good piece here too. I'm trying to find like a junior portfolio or whatever. Because like, just not to scare you guys, but I'm just trying to give you like I don't know. This guy's like, here's an example. Jason Chan makes awesome work. I follow him on Twitter. We've interacted a few times. He does freelancing. He works in South Africa, I guess. Like, these are the type of people that you're going to be like really shitty, like competing with, but they are your peers. So like, push yourself for sure. There's lots of ways that you can promote yourself and interact with these types of people for sure. Yeah, this is a really cool guy too.
Yeah, I saw you gave me this one. I was like,
oh, I did.
Yeah, you gave me this one on my earlier. I was just trying to look for like different kind of designs of the tail because she is like kind of like a raccoon tail. I've been trying to research the raccoons all day. He's not like a fox or a wolf. Interesting. I even used Timo.
Oh, nice.
Use a beaver tail. That way you don't have to worry about the fur.
A beaver tail. I like this guy. Damn, it's really sick. God, I want to finish a piece of work so bad, and I just don't have time. I like this guy's tail too.
Yeah, this is my first time doing something like a fur. This is the first fur I ever did. I was like, no, God, what did I got myself into?
Yeah, I mean, those are my thoughts. I was going to talk about also. So it's
not there yet.
Fine.
Yeah. I'm not there yet. I'm about to touch it soon. For the
this is like 4 million. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, for that part, do you want me just to give it some what do you call some ripples, some clothing like folds in there?
Yeah, but it doesn't have to be like too intense. Also, is she meant to have like a hole in here for where her?
I've been trying to find that out. I was like, where is this hole? Somewhere.
Oh yeah, that is tough.
I might actually do the Final Fantasy 14 tail. I found the reference of it. Even I can use my own character and just make that hole design. I can just make that really quick and just put it in the back of it because I already found the reference. Like, oh, that actually looks cool. I'll just put that in. It won't relate to the character, but it's gonna I'll just put a hole right there. It's interesting. I was like, nope. I try to look at every figure, like every Figma, and every.
You just have to buy one.
Yeah, no. There's like a thing I go on to Japanese site where they have like the Figma model. You can just you can actually look at the turnaround. It's like using Momo set, but you can actually turn around and how they made their figures. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, the main thing is you just want to make sure that you have a good silhouette, right? Like looking at this and making sure. I mean, if it's easier, I would do what I did and just like make a bunch of individual shapes. I don't know if you already tried to do that and then merge them together. Yeah. Do you have any other questions about her right now, or?
Trying to think. I know I have to do I know I missed some parts of my clothing. There's one part of the clothing I have to do. How do you think about the shoulder pad of her thing?
Yeah, I think this is all looking pretty cool. Yeah. I mean, this is maybe a little bit thick off the surface personally, but and you want to avoid like these. I don't know what that piece is here. This is like her shirt or something. Yeah.
Oh yeah, the shirt. Oh, the shirt under it. Yeah, that's the shirt.
You want to avoid like tangents and stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, watch out for this like Dynamesh detail, like I said.
So you want me to replace? Try to just like make it a separate mesh for that one, or just?
I would. I mean, if really anything, like try to avoid like this kind of like the thing about making it a separate tool is that it makes it really distinct and sharp. Because like when it's Dynamesh, like it's kind of obvious to tell. So like if you, unless you like really want to subdivide it like crazy, you got to like really get in here and like polish it up. And then redraw it maybe.
Yeah.
With the lazy radius way turned up to make it much cleaner. Let me do all right, but yeah, let me do the thing I was actually going to talk about, which was the stitching and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I need to for that.
Yeah, okay. So 3, 2, 1. Let me stop the recording and let me load up Substance Painter.
Substance.
And load up a Substance Painter project. I love when I get, not in this class, but I love when I get emails from students the night before the midterms due, and they're like, hey, my Maya doesn't work. What should I do? I'm like, just good luck, dude. Open. Sure. So yeah. So for example, my Substance Painter files, this is not a flex. This is actually really shitty, but they get kind of big. They're like fucking 4 or 5 gigs sometimes. That's not a good thing.
That importer trio that has so much detail, like having a face inside every body part for a different project. Hoping that comes up. That game comes up soon.
Okay, so 3, 2, 1, go.
No visa.
All right, so I want to talk about like stitching and stuff. So as you guys saw in my high poly on this character, I had like all of these individual details, right, as like separate subtools, basically, like the paneling on his body here. So if I go over here and I go to suit and I isolate this guy out, hopefully this won't crash. But yeah, so this orange stripe here, that's actually in the normal map. So when I hit B, that was a separate subtool that I baked it down to my texture, right? Same with these kind of like things over here, these kind of like these panel loops that go around these like metal sockets that are attached to a suit or whatever. However, I don't have like a ton of stitching or anything on this character, just because the whole thing was like really illustrative. But I just want to show you guys that you can definitely add stitching in Substance Painter. You don't have to try and like bake it into your model here. I mean, it really depends what you're going for, because I've seen people do both. So for example, right, let's say I want to add some stitching to this character. So if I go to his suit, which I think is here, and nope, it's in this gigantic folder called suit. Hold on, Substance Painter has to load. There we go.
Switch the camera.
Let me make a new scene here. Actually, we can use this to talk about a couple different things for sure. So let's do stitching first, right? So stitching, right? So I'm going to fill this with a layer. Let's say I want to add yellow stitching to this guy. Okay. Yeah. You guys buy jeans, they got yellow stitching in them sometimes, right? Yeah.
I've not owned a pair of jeans in over a decade.
Wow. I mean, who even wears pants anymore? Am I right?
Exactly.
I never have to leave the house, really.
2020 COVID.
2020, baby. So you
Gotta
set up
love
whatever.
sweats.
So you set up whatever like color you want it to be and the roughness. So we want it probably to be pretty rough because it's fabric, not metallic at all. And then you add like a layer mask or something. So add a black mask here. So if you guys don't understand how to use this interface, don't worry. We're definitely going to have a day where I just go over the interface and talk about it. But so Substance Painter has a lot of cool brushes, and I'm sure you can probably find more and download more online. But by default, if you go into the brushes menu here and you just like scroll down, they have some stitching brushes here.
Right there.
And so if I just take this guy down and then click and drag, it drags some stitching. Now, the quality that it draws it at is very determined by your UV size and your texture size and all these other informations. So you might have to make it like really small. But if you go over here into the brush settings, you can change like the flow. So let me make the brush bigger so you can kind of see what's going on here. You can change the spacing, right? Like you would be able to in Photoshop.